All right, hey guys, Jason here. What we're going to be talking about today, difference between a Reflex Deflex bow and a hill style bow. Okay, these are the things we're going to talk about. So here we got both. Now, these are both Northern Miss bows, Steve Teray, but his R&D bows, Reflex Deflex bows, are very what we call a mild R&D. You can get much more aggressive to it, but the concept is the same. But here is a straight classic longbow. This is not a backset bow. This is not there's no backset in it. It's not a string follow. It is a straight limb bow, as straight as it gets. Okay, this is as straight as a longbow gets, basically. And then we have a R&D bow. Now, on the R&D bow here, which is his Beriga model, if you notice the difference compared to this straight bow, you're going to notice that the limbs have a sweep out right here. Okay, see this outward bend here, this sweep out, and then this tuck in and curl out. Okay, so we got a deflex part right here where it deflexes back, and we got a reflex part right here where it reflexes forward. Okay, as a difference. This part where it comes forward is the reflex. This is the deflex right here. Those two features, and then also you will notice in this one, one has a straight grip, one has a locator grip. You can see that in there, forget the string popping through, but you can see the difference in the grips there, a straight grip and a locator grip. You can see if you follow the lines of this, when I put them right on top of each other, right at the shelf, you can see the deflex in the bottom one, how it bends out towards the front, curls back in, and then flexes back out again. You can see the difference in that limb. So what does that do for you? What's the advantages here of a Reflex Deflex bow? Now, you guys know I shoot hill style bows. These are my favorite. I love the simplicity of a hill style bow. I love the straight grip. I love the feel. I like the little whoomp in the hand. I like the way it is. I like everything about hill style bows. I love them. And I honestly think they're one of the most forgiving and very smooth and quiet shooting bows there is, in my opinion. Everybody's opinion will vary, but we're talking about the R&D bow, because this is the bow that most people shoot. They want, okay? And you can get this way more extreme where it comes up and dips in way more and comes out more. And they'll actually be, you can get them to a point where they look like a hybrid bow, where instead of being a D shape, they're going to look more like a V shape. Okay, so when I take this bow and I string this up, let me find that stringer for this one here, because I brought both stringers out here, and they're kind of twisted into each other. But the advantage is to, see, that's the story of my life right here. This is my life in a nutshell, written out right there, playing out in real time. This is every aspect of my life, it seems like these days. There we go. But a true D-shape bow, or a D-shape bows, again, some of these terminologies have been watered down over time. D-shape, when people say a D bow, it used to be about the handle, the way the handle was shaped, okay, and the way that the whole midsection of the bow was. But now, typically, people refer to the shape of a bow when it's strung as the D-shape aspect. Even on this mild R&D, you can see that it's shaped like a D, the limb, okay? So it's not, this limb is still curving. Okay, see how it's still curving here as it's going across? That still has a D-shaped bow look to it. The more aggressive an R&D bow gets, the more V-shaped. This section of the limb here will be more linear, straight line. Okay, it'll be more of a straight line, and then the more hybrid they get, the further deflex will be, which means you have a much taller brace height, putting the handle out more, and then it's a more V-shaped straight limb line to the string knock. Okay, so there's your differences. When I string this one up, it still looks similar because that is a mild R&D bow, so it's going to still kind of match the characteristics of a hill style bow when it's strung, because it is mild. It's less noticeable. When we string this guy up here and we look at this, you can see here we still have that D shape, but you can see how much we have of the curl in this limb. We have this bend in this limb. Okay, when you compare that, look at this limb and look at how much straighter this limb is versus that limb. Okay, when I set them like this, you can see here, see how this one's got a lot of sweeping curl? This one almost straight lines out over here where that reflex starts to straighten out. You can see that. You got your deflex here, but then you can see it straightening out. That is the differences, okay, between these types of bows. Okay, we got a true straight limb bow that actually makes a D, and then the mild hybrid, which is actually starting to form. You can see that straight limb starting to turn straight in this section of it here as the reflex opens, the deflex closes, creating the straight limb in here. So advantages for this for most people. What is the advantages to, God, I haven't shot this thing in forever. We're gonna have to fire this guy a little bit today. What is the differences to a R&D style bow? What is the bonuses here? Well, first off, you can see when I set these on the ground strung, you can see the height difference. Okay, you can shoot a shorter bow. Believe it or not, too, this is an interesting part a lot of people wonder about. They're like, God, a 64-inch bow has to be so long. This is a 64-inch bow, and this is a 60-inch bow. Let the reality of that sink in. 64-inch, 60-inch, 64, 60. Look at how little difference there is, okay? When we unstring them, we'll see more in here, too, but we'll look at that again. But what's nice about an R&D bow is you can get a shorter bow and you still get the performance. Because of the sweep, the deflex in the limb, with the reflex in the limb, it allows you to store that energy in a shorter portion and make the limb work harder. Okay, the limb is going to work harder in these bows. It is going to produce more speed. It is going to be smoother in the hand because you technically have 3 working parts of the limb. Deflex, flat, straight spot, reflex. It's very similar to a recurve in all practicals, how a recurve has that sweep with the tips. It's no different. The tip of the recurve that curls back when you draw is right here. The reflex, the belly of that limb that bows out like that, is right here. It gives you the same features of a recurve in a longbow form, and the more aggressive it is, the more aggressive the design is. It becomes almost to a hybrid. Hybrid meaning halfway between a recurve, halfway between a longbow. The technical specification for a longbow is that the string does not touch the limb. So if I take something, I don't have something sitting here easy to, here's something. So if I take a piece of paper or something, I put it there, it has to, if it falls out, okay? If it falls out and it doesn't stick, technically speaking, that's a longbow, because the limb and the string does not come into contact other than it to knock. That's what makes a longbow by definition. These hybrid bows get so close to what a recurve is, they're right there on that edge. And they're performance-wise, you're right there with them too. So a lot of advantages to it. But the reason that most people shoot these is because you get a lot of speed, you get a lot of stored energy, you get a lot of power out of them, and you get it in a shorter package that even taller people with longer draw weights can shoot. It's much easier for this sweeping design of these limbs that I'm exaggerating here, but this reflex deflex design to open, and open as you draw it and be bent farther than it is to take a straight stick. Basically, take a straight piece of wood and flex it so far that you bend it in a shape like this. You can see that shape. You're bending it. This limb is going to flex out to this point coming out on an angle here. And when that happens, so like if I draw this, I'm assuming you'll be able to see the top of this. We'll keep it low. But as I draw this, watch this limb profile on here. I have this here so it kind of gave you something to see as a white background against that. But watch as we draw this limb tip. Okay. You can see that way that limb bends. This one, you can see it's got a little different characteristic to it when this one bends. See the difference in that? I'll do it again. Watch this whole flex of this limb. And again, this is very mild R&D. More hybrid and more R&D it gets, the more you'll notice that. Okay, and that limb, and then you see the difference here in this limb. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So R&D bows are by far a lot more popular. Now because of that, they also are gentler in the hand, okay? Because you have these 3 different working parts working there, and you have this coming to a softer, lighter setup when it hits brace as far as the felt shock through the riser, because it's more in the limb tips, you get a softer shoot. You don't get that hand shock. What is hand shock? Hand shock is a joke, is what it is. Hand shock is an absolute joke in this world of archery as far as I'm concerned. People way overthink it. If you're getting hand shock from a bow, it's not your bow's problem, it's your problem with your arrows. That's what my attitude is. If you're shooting too light arrows, you're going to get hand shock. And when you're shooting a hill style bow, you want a heavy arrow. If you're shooting light arrows out of that, you're going to feel it. The reason is, again, the design of the limb that is on here. What's going to happen is when that thing comes back and it hits that string, hits brace, okay? When it lets go of that arrow, and it comes to a stop right there, you have these whippy limb tips that are trying to go this way. You have the bend of the limb working the other way. You got all this stuff happening that makes it very gentle in the hand. Very, very gentle in the hand. When you take one of these and you let this go, you got one long sweeping limb that is trying to bend. It's like taking, it is literally no different than if you were grabbing, let me grab one here and show you whatever I got laying here. Okay, here's one, just it's no different than taking an arrow shaft and bending it. See how it bends wherever it wants to? It's not bending just here and then here. Okay, you bend it and it bends through the middle. It's bending, okay? Same concept applies here with this bow. We are taking a straight limb and flexing it, which bends throughout the whole thing, which means when that comes back and you let this go, boom, and that arrow goes off, you are getting the same amount of force traveling through this entire limb, which goes right into that hand. Okay, so it's, you feel a little more thump in that, a little more pop, boom, 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 in there when you shoot this than you will a bow that has got deflex working, reflex working, and coming to brace with all of them at the same time. So it feels a little gentler in the hand. Is it better? No, not in my opinion. That's a personal opinion you'll have to make. For many, yes. For many of us, I would much rather have this style bow. There is a beauty and a romance to all of them. There's no doubt about it. But the reason that most people like a R&D bow is it allows you to shoot a shorter bow. It allows it to have more speed. It allows it to have more recurve type characteristics to it. And so there's a lot of benefit to that to a lot of people. These are beautiful bows. I will not fault them in any way. But people ask all the time, why shoot a hill style bow and not an R&D bow? I have R&D bows, and that's what I've shot, mild. I'm not a fan of these big hybrid ones. Reason for that is I have a short draw length. Okay, if I go to, you will notice on a lot of the V bows, the hybrid bows, they have a very long brace height through here. Okay, that brace height is out like that far because that bow shape is exaggerated. Okay, with the deflection when it goes out, you end up with a V-shaped bow, and that brace height gets big, and then you lose power stroke. Losing power stroke, you lose energy. I don't want to lose a power stroke. So for me as a shorter guy, I much prefer a mild R&D bow than a high R&D bow. So, but honestly, like I said, I'm a huge fan of the straight limb bow for myself personally. I like them more, and they just do everything. Oh, this isn't going to work with Crocs on very well. There we go. But the you can see that profile again, that deflex, reflex, deflex, reflex. There it is for you in these bows right here, and then rather than being a straight aligned grip or limb on there. So beautiful bows. Can never fault them one bit. That's what everybody loves to shoot. Now, myself personally, like I said, I am more of a hill style bow. I like these. I like the sweeping, even flow of the limbs. I like the design. I like the feel. I love the feel in the hand. I like the deadness in it when you do release. There are so many beautiful things about a hill style bow that is just amazing. This true D shape. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. But the world today, a lot of them seem to really be focused on this style of a bow. This video is hopefully to give you the reasons why. Do these win and overpower? Is this a much better bow than what you're going to get out of something like this? Not better, different. Okay? Maybe better for you, maybe not, but different. Is it night and day difference shooting this one versus that one? No. No. Don't over-exaggerate it. Don't act like, you know, that if you shoot one of these, you're like a world-class somebody and very few people in the world can shoot these. Don't think that. Don't think that's, oh my God, these are so much faster and they have so much better performance. No, don't think that either. You're splitting hairs here, but the video is about explaining the differences. I hope you enjoy it. Any questions you got, put them down below. Thanks for watching.